Hey you guys, welcome back. I want to go over, first of all, the natural progression. What I'm calling it is the natural progression, and then go over kind of my view on what needs to happen if you guys end up wanting to skip steps or disrupt the natural progression of becoming an independent owner-operator. So again, you see my videos, you see other videos, and you're either going to go with the flow and keep with the natural progression, or you're going to disrupt it and you're going to just go balls out. Okay, so I'm all about disrupting things. I'm all about ruffling feathers and shaking stuff up. However, when you skip or disrupt the natural progression into this, there's a lot of steps that you may be skipping, and there's nothing wrong with skipping steps so long as you replace that step with something. I'm going to speak fairly generally speaking. Not everybody's going to fall into this category. Not everybody's experience is the same. Think of it like a bank account, right? You swipe your card. You're constantly making deductions. You're pulling from that account. And eventually there's going to be nothing left in that account. There's nothing left. So you have to make some deposits. You have to make some deposits to keep your account in good standing, right? So the same thing goes with this thing of learning transportation and getting to the point to where you can become, or you are becoming, an independent owner-operator. There's a lot of freedom in this. I'm not talking about company drivers. I'm talking about straight up independent owner-operators. I work when I want to work. I go where I want to go, and I decide whether the price is right or the price is not right. The natural progression, what I see, is maybe 18-year-old person, graduate from high school. You're not going to go to college, don't want to go to college. Maybe at 18, you finish high school. Maybe person goes to work at a warehouse, or doing LTL deliveries in a small box truck or a van, something like that. Do that for a couple years. In the state of California, you cannot get your Class A license until you are at least 21 years of age. So maybe at 21 years old, person says, okay, I want to get my Class A. Can't afford truck driving school, $5,000, $8,000, whatever it is, right? So they say, okay, well, I'm going to go sign up with one of those big carriers that gives you on-the-job training. Sign a contract for 1 to 2 years. You get your on-the-job training, you get your CDL, and then you finish out that contract with that company. Maybe you like the company, maybe you got lucky and you chose one that actually was fairly decent, so you stick with it for a few more years. Maybe now you're about 25, and then you say, okay, well, I'm done with this company. I'm gonna go to this other company and be a Class A company driver. And maybe you bounce around. Company drivers, there's a big revolving door when it comes to drivers. Maybe you bounce around, maybe you start as dry van, maybe you want to try out reefer, you hear that pays more. Maybe you want to do some port work, you hear that pays more. Bounce around maybe 3, 5, 6 years, more than that, who knows? Then you get tired of that, and you say, well, I'm tired of being a company driver. I'm tired of people telling me what to do. I'm tired of the co-workers that I work with. I'm tired of split seating in a truck. So you're like, screw it. I have enough money now. I can afford to purchase my own truck. So you go out, you purchase your own truck. Great. Now you're like, I'm going to sign on to a company as an owner-operator and do that. You may get a company that has a bunch of hidden fees, or they told you were going to make this percentage and you're not getting paid fairly for your detention time, or you don't like the dispatcher, whatever the reasons are. Then you say, you know what? I'm tired of this. They're getting such and such percentage. I don't like my dispatcher. My parking spot is always taken. So now you're like, screw it. I already know how to be an owner-operator. I already have a truck. I'm just going to go get a trailer and become an independent owner-operator. Great. Now, look at the progression. We started with the example the person was 18 years old. You know, maybe about 30, you have your own truck, you're an owner operator for different companies, and you kind of bop around there. So now, when you're at the point that you want to look at becoming an actual independent owner operator, not signed on to anybody else's company. Those are your DOT numbers and your CA number, whatever, everything. That progression is, say, from 18 to about 35, 40. You're talking 1 to 2 decades that this person has already been having their CDL, been a driver, been touching different types of equipment. When you see my videos, when you see me and I talk about I'm an independent owner operator, I'm not signed on to any company. Nobody tells me where to go. Nobody tells me what time to leave. Nobody routes me. Nobody dispatches me. Nobody, does anything pretty much for me. Unless I get a service outsourced, like my IFTA or something. So when you see these videos, think about that natural progression. If you want to go from whatever, working at McDonald's, you get a little bit of capital saved up from wherever, whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I've been watching Natalie on YouTube and I have to do what she does. It looks so much fun. And she travels with her daughter and, she's always smiling and having fun and talking about how much money she's making. And I want to go and do that. Think about all the steps. Think about that natural progression. Now, there's nothing wrong, I'm telling you. There's nothing wrong with skipping steps and nothing wrong with, stirring some stuff up and changing things, okay? However, again, think about that bank account, okay? If you're gonna take out steps from that natural progression, you need to deposit other things in its place. So that driver that I gave you guys the example on, that driver not only learned how to drive, learned the business, learned the lingo, learned more or less rates, learned how to work a logbook, learned what IFTA was, learned what all of this stuff was as a company driver and stuff like that. And then they bought their own truck, and then they learned what maintenance is, how much tires cost, how much, mileage you can get out of them before you need to have enough money, $5,000 or whatever it is, $1,500 to depending on whether you're a big rig or a hotshot, depending on that, to have that revenue, that money in your bank account in order to replace those tires. So that driver learned that progression with experience, okay? With the experience over maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 decades, who knows? And remember, there's nothing wrong with starting smaller. There's nothing wrong with staying closer to home. There's nothing wrong with getting a dispatch service so long as they know what the hell they're doing. And again, it's the same for Hotshot. I use Big Rig just for ease, to use Big Rig, but it's the same for Hotshot. You might start at Hotshot in your early 20s, with just whoever, just a truck and, a trailer on U-ship, just, figuring stuff out. Decide you like to drive, decide that's cool. You're not going to go to college. Okay, fine. And then, maybe you get a little bit bigger truck, maybe you get a little bit bigger trailer, doing it non-CDL. And then, eventually, then you want to get your CDL, you want to get a beefier trailer, you want to go after, have more flexibility on the loads that you can go after. Maybe you sign on to a company, maybe you get a dispatch service, maybe you become a company driver for somebody else's hotshot rig. Progression is the same. I just happen to use like CDL, Big Rig, original example. If you're gonna go and skip steps, I think that's great. Do that. Do what you think is best for you, for your business, for your family. But remember, those other people who are progressing naturally over time, they learned a lot along the way. So when it's you as a brand new independent owner operator versus them as a brand new independent owner operator, they already have potentially decades of experience behind them, as opposed to you who maybe you don't know the lingo. Maybe you don't know how to speak to brokers and how rates work or how to find out. So you may be at a bigger disadvantage than they may be. And the stats don't lie. Even if a person does this natural progression and becomes an independent owner operator, they still fail. They still fail. You can look up the statistics. But if you're going to do this, the point is obviously to succeed. So if you're going to take steps out, make sure you are replacing those with something else as much as you can, because you are just ensuring the success of your business and the success of your future. So you guys, go ruffle feathers, go do whatever you got to do, but educate yourselves and gain some experience and learn and grow, and don't stop doing those things. So that's what I have for you guys for today.